Konnichiwa.
Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast.
Kia ora, Catherine. How are you? And welcome to our final episode of Jandals for the year.
Wow, I can't believe it's the last one. I'm happy and sad. No, I'm really sad.
Not the last for this year. Everybody calm down.
Only for this year. Calm
Yeah,
down. Only for this year,
We're
right?
having a wee Chrissy holiday, aren't we? Yeah.
It's very Kiwi. Wee Chrissy holiday. I love it. See,
Mm.
you get your dose of Kiwi on this so much, don't you?
You know, in New Zealand, that Christmas is nothing in Japan, really. And this year, what's happening? It's on a weekday, so everybody will just have to go off to work as per normal.
Yeah, I remember that was my very first experience in Japan, was going to work on Christmas Day. I was mortified. The reason I was mortified was not so much going to work, but yeah, that was bad. It's just that all the decorations
We're gone.
at Christmas time were gone.
Mm.
And it was all sort of gone. And I was so sad.
Well,
I've moved on. I've moved on now. I know what happens in Japan.
I did come up in the tourist industry in New Zealand, and so you obviously work on Christmas Day, right? And all the other days, that's fairly normal. But yes, to have that, nobody's saying Merry Christmas and it's just nothing on Christmas Day. It's like, what? And all the decorations are gone and it's now focusing on the new year. I'm like,
very shocking
wow.
For the first time, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now used to it very much so, but cannot believe it's December and that, wow, we have had such a roller coaster year and just like a speedway track. It's been amazing. This whole series of Jandals this year. We've really enjoyed it. It's just got better and better, we think.
Oh, yeah. And how much have we learned about the New Zealand-Japan connections that exist, and such a great education this year as well as opportunities that we had to help New Zealand through various fundraising and all sorts of things we did. Unbelievable.
That was really great, wasn't it, to be able to do that back in April? That feels like a long time ago, but it was only April.
And this year, right?
Also, when I was at the Japan New Zealand Business Council meeting in November, we talked about this. There's still aftermath from those floods. So I felt really great that we could at least contribute a drip in the whole pool to help everybody to get through some of the difficulties there. And let's hope nothing like that happens again, but it could, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so don't Borenkais, Shinnenkais too much out there, people. How many Borenkais and Shinnenkais have you got, Catherine? I have
one left.
One Borenkai left.
Yes.
How about Shinnenkais? How many Shinnenkais have you got?
Shinnenkais 3 lined up so far.
I've done very well. I have 0 Borenkais this year and 1 Shinnenkai.
I found that a lot have been moved though to January this time. It seems everyone is super busy with getting back into the swing of things really this year after that pandemic. Last night I was walking back from seeing some friends, and outside a restaurant there are these 7 or 8 people outside, spilling outside, Japanese, all saying goodbye and bowing, and I thought, oh, that's the old Japan that I used to see a lot of, and now it's back. Yes. You can really feel it's back. And it was bustling over at Roppongi Hills, got gorgeous lights up over there. So I feel it's back. But yes, don't do too much in the drinking stakes and too much partying, because you've also got to enjoy everything else around you as well.
Alrighty, so who have we got?
Seeing us out for 2023 is Motoko Murata. She's amazing, the country manager of Mainfreight. Yes, everyone, Mainfreight is in Japan. So she's been in logistics for her whole career, more than 20 years. And she took on this role in 2019, just when that naughty pandemic started, and got through that with the team and took up the country manager role last year in 2022. So we're super happy to have had her on the show. She was a dynamite and really told us so many little interesting things. We hope that everybody really enjoys this one. Have a little cocktail, have a warm mulled wine, do something like that while you're listening to it, and enjoy the end of our Jandals in Japan for 2023.
All right, let's hear it from Motoko. Kia ora, Motoko. Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm so honored.
Oh, it's great to have you. So our warm-up question for you is, what would you like to do on your upcoming trip to New Zealand?
I would like to breathe there.
Breathing.
Yes, I'm sure the air is really nice there and all the natures that I can't see in Japan. So it'll be really nice, like working in Tokyo and the cities. Sometimes the airs are really not clean, right? But going to New Zealand is like breathing, do nothing,
Ooh,
just see the
what a
views.
good
That'll be really
one.
nice.
Yeah, what a great
That's what I
answer.
want.
I'm not
Yeah, that's what I
expecting
want.
that. Catherine, what are you going to
Yeah.
do on
Oh,
your upcoming trip to New Zealand? We are both going to New Zealand very soon, so
that's right. And usually I spend most of my time in Christchurch. This time I've got a day in Auckland. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing Auckland Harbour, the bridge,
Mm,
and taking in a bit of Auckland air this time and breathing in
mm,
some, seeing what Auckland's like. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing and spending the day there.
there
mm.
you go.
How
Yeah.
about you,
And also
Jane? Oh, yeah,
oops,
go ahead.
sorry. I
Yeah, no.
also want to see our headquarters there. That's
Ah, right,
that's
yeah.
for sure, right?
Of course, of course.
Mainfreight headquarters. Whoops, I've said it. My thing that I'm going to do when I get to New Zealand next is I'm actually really looking forward to. I'm actually going to breathe the air and I'm going to actively breathe the air. Thank you for reminding me that we have such beautiful, clean air to breathe in New Zealand, Motoko. But one more thing I'm
Yes.
going to do is go and play a game of golf
Mm.
on the Tianao golf course, which has a lake view and the odd sheep. So it's
Don't hit the sheep with the golf
yeah,
ball, Jane.
very nearby farms and things. So it may have changed in the last few years that I haven't been there, but I'm really looking forward to doing this. This is not something you can do in Japan, right? Play a game
Not
of
so readily,
golf
right? You're certainly with the
with,
lake view. Gosh.
well, yeah, with this beautiful natural lake view and natural sheep also nearby. So,
Is it a full 18-hole golf course?
hmm
Oh, good.
yeah,
Great.
18 holes.
Awesome. Wow.
Mm.
There you go. We're all going to be breathing air and looking at scenery and doing little activities and visiting office and doing a bit of work as well. Well, Motoko, it's so amazing to have you here. You're
Thank
country
you.
manager for Mainfreight in
Thank you.
Japan. You've been working in the logistics industry, I think, most of your life, at least 20
Nice.
years or
Yes.
so, right? And
Yep.
joined Mainfreight at the beginning of 2019.
19.
And
Yes.
then that nasty little pandemic came along and made things
Yes.
very tough for us. But you've really taken up the role and the challenge, and we're so excited to hear about Mainfreight's activities in Japan.
Thank you.
So we'll put your full bio into the show notes later. But tell us a
Thank
bit
you.
more about your background and what inspired you to join Mainfreight.
Afraid. Okay. Well, actually, I have been working in this industry more than 20 years, whole my life, right? After the school, I joined Japanese companies and also US companies and European companies, and I've experienced all that. But I didn't really have to like promote the company names in Japan because it was already big name here. So, it was already well known, right? But Mayfreight, I didn't know until, I get this job, right? So I was I was really surprised like Oceanian logistic company is such a big in New Zealand, and I just wanted to challenge to promote in Japan. So I
Mm.
just joined Mainfreight, and it's a really great role and job here at Mainfreight.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember when we met for the first time and you said, "Do you know Mainfreight?" And I was like, "Do I know
Yes.
Mainfreight?" Yeah, I'm sure there's almost no New Zealanders who do not know Mainfreight or who have
Right.
not been a customer of Mainfreight or
Mhm.
had their house moved by Mainfreight or something, right? But
Yes.
you
Yes.
really have a challenge here in Japan, right, to
Yes,
become known.
definitely. Yes, definitely. Because in logistic field, if you don't know, like if you're not doing import or export, you will probably don't know the freight forwarders. But we're here and we're doing like international import and export here, right? But we don't have a truck here. So you don't really see us until you actually visit the customers to explain who we are.
Mm.
So it was really tough, but just one by one, we're trying to introduce ourselves. And I mean, actually, the customers are really surprised. Wow, I didn't know,
Mm.
Mainfreight.
Mm.
But of course, the people from New Zealand, they know.
Of
But
course.
most of the people here in Japan, they still don't know us.
Mm.
Right. So as country manager, what are you doing? You're visiting customers as well as with your salespeople. Is that what you're doing? What's your kind of average day look like, or your average week?
Yes, I actually travel a lot and visiting customers. And the first things I have to do is introducing our company to the customers. So I have to represent, myself.
Mm.
We are here, and also that, what we are doing. So I basically travel a lot.
Yeah. What do
Mm.
Yes.
you tell them? Like, I remember just recently you were doing a
Mm-hmm.
presentation at the New Zealand
Mm-hmm.
Embassy. You talked a lot
Mm-hmm.
about what your company does, and it was actually a lot broader than what I knew. And there was another New Zealander in the audience who was very surprised that Mainfreight does a little bit more than what we know as trucks on the road in New Zealand, for example. So, what kinds of things do you do at Mainfreight there?
Yes, Kathleen, I explained that most of the probably the New Zealand people, they notice the trucks, but we actually move the cargoes by air and ocean with the containers. And also we do the warehousing and customs brokerage and also the domestic trucks delivery as well. So we do basically door to door to all over the world from, all over the world. So this is what we do. So the main freight in New Zealand is more like delivery to your home door, right? But not in Japan. We do import and export, usually like B2B, not B2C or C2C.
Okay, so if someone's
Yes.
sending a products from New Zealand, and they ask you, what's the flow from when they pick up the goods in New Zealand and it comes to Japan, what happens?
So we pick up the cargo from premises, right? And then we do the customs clearance.
Right.
We export. And you can choose by air or by sea. And we arrange to move by air, for example. We book the flight for your cargo, right? And it flew to Japan. And we receive the cargo and we do the import customs clearance. We ask you a lot of a question. What is this
What's
product
in
is,
your
right?
stuff?
Mm.
What have you brought? Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
after the approval from customs, we can finally deliver it to your door.
that's amazing,
This
right?
is what we
Because
do.
often that process is done by different people and
Mhm.
various different companies, but you're saying you can
Mhm.
do the whole process.
Yes, door
Wow,
to door.
Wow.
Yes,
that's
this is
great.
what we do.
I want to just buy something in New Zealand and ask you to deliver it to me so I can get the main freight person come and deliver it. Wow,
We can do that.
amazing.
What's the
Yes, this is what
smallest
we do.
cargo you could deal with though? Like, are you dealing with only large amounts, or is it like,
Actually, yes, we deal with large cargoes because when you notice like small cargoes, it's called like courier,
mm,
but
Yes,
we are freight forwarder.
you're a
So
freighter,
right,
it's
right?
bigger.
right.
Yes.
Big orders or big
Big orders
containers
Okay,
like
and things.
machines. Yes.
okay.
Machines like, trains.
Trains?
Yeah, we actually handle from Hokkaido to Australia. Train.
Wow.
You sent a
Fantastic.
train from
Okay, what else
Train
Hokkaido
have you sent? Come
to
on, tell us
Australia.
the
Ooh,
most amazing things you've
It
sent.
was really big, but of course it's not gonna fit in container, so we have to
Mm.
have like a special handling. But we can do those kind of like oversized cargo as well.
What
ooh.
else have you sent?
Yes.
Like a
We
train?
train is very project cargo, but it's just machineries is oversized and those
Mm.
kind of things,
Hmm. Like
So
diggers
some
and
yes,
bulldozers and
yes, the
wow.
cars sometimes,
Cars. Hmm.
yes, those kind of
Wow.
Interesting.
things.
Amazing. Train. You got me stopped there. So, wow, what about some of the things that you found at the beginning when you started? Because you were really excited about this role. There must have been some challenges, though, aside, as well
Mhm.
as and aside from the COVID-19 situation. Because it's a
Yes.
bit different to take on a New Zealand company as a country manager here. So, what sorts of things challenged you?
Yes, it's really challenged. Like I said in the beginning, no one knows us. So it was really hard to make a cold call, right?
Yeah,
Like
the
they
name
don't know, like
brand.
if, yes, the
Yeah,
name brand is
yeah.
really not well known. So
Mm,
that's why I connect with, like, networking is very important. Like
mm.
they can actually say Mainfreight name, right? And also our company is pretty good, I think. I want them to know that we are doing great jobs in New Zealand and also other countries as well. So the biggest challenge is to make appointment with the customers for the first call.
Okay.
Right, because they don't know your name. It's not like you
They
can
don't.
say you're some so and so that they know you're different. So
Yes.
how do you get past that? How do you get round them and persuade them to say yes
Mm.
to you? Is there something that you use or
Yes, actually, NZTE is helping me to introduce our,
right?
company as well,
Mm,
and also that we have to utilize that our name brand in New Zealand. So we started calling the customers who has a trade between New Zealand and Japan, so they will know
right,
us.
right.
So, and then little by little, we are expanding.
Wow.
That is
Who
the biggest challenge, yeah.
can I ask you who your first customer was? Are you able to say that?
No, I don't think I can say it,
Okay. A
but
New
it's a
Zealand client, a New
honey.
Zealand as a
Yes,
honey client.
it's
Okay,
a honey
great.
client
Wow,
because
because I think
we
bringing in honey too, you'd have a lot of declarations to make about the how it's been treated and all the rest of it. But that's great. If you start from honey, then almost anything will be sweet
yes,
after that. Yeah,
yes, because during the COVID, our immune system, we needed to, be
sure.
stronger, right? But honey is the
Yeah,
perfect product at the time. So we
good.
import the honey from New Zealand to Japan. I think the honey is the first customer we got.
Great. Well
Yes.
done. Who else is in your
Amazing.
team there? Because it's you're the country manager, but how many people do you have in your team? If you can tell us that a little bit about who you work with.
Yes. Yes, we're a very small team here. We have 7 team members, including me, but 2 more are coming in this year.
Ooh. Mm.
So, yes, we are
Are they
recruiting.
mostly Japanese people?
Yes, there are Japanese people.
Mm. I never would have thought there would be a potential for New Zealanders to work in the logistics industry in Japan, but
Mhm.
potentially there could be in the future, right? With Mainfreight or
Yes,
something similar, right?
yes,
Interesting.
because we have a system like, if you want to work overseas, they can work. We give
Right.
them the chance to do that.
So now you've been on the road literally for quite a few years now. And I know
Yes.
Japan is just such a high demand country for the specialist service you need for logistics and delivery. How do you get a New Zealand company who does so well in New Zealand to kind of
Mhm.
match the Japan standard for delivering and everything that you
Mm.
do around that? How do you do that?
Well,
Mm,
actually, what I noticed that, I worked for US and European companies, right? They're huge. But the Mayfreight is really good size to
mm,
be very quality. I say, like, we can provide a quality service.
right.
So we're focusing on providing a quality service compared to other mega forwarders, right? Because sometimes you merge into bigger companies, but you probably lose the mission and culture and who we are, right? But in Mayfreight, in worldwide, we have same qualities. So we train the people, we have the same missions, we have same philosophies and cultures. So this is our strength in our company, right? So it's a differentiation from the other mega forwarders. So the Japanese people like quality.
Mm.
So the
Right.
quality is very important.
Right.
So I don't want it to be like a cheap and bad service, right?
Yeah.
No. So what does
Yes.
quality mean? What does that mean in real terms? Like literally, what does a
Okay.
customer expect if you're talking about quality?
Yes, because usually import and export, they want to trace the cargoes. Like, where is the cargoes now, right? They want to deliver on time. So they ask questions to trace the cargo where it is. But usually, like, it takes time to get back to them, right? But we don't do that. We get back to them overnight, even for like from Japan to US. We have a network in the US as well. So, for example, like if we send an email to overseas team, they will come back to me overnight.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
So they can have like quick information replies. That
yeah.
is the quality for moving the cargos. And if the cargo is damaged, we can trace where it happens and we get back to them sincerely, right? So honesty is very important as a quality
Mm,
service.
mm.
So this is what we do.
That's great.
Mm.
Mm.
You mentioned a little bit about the sort of values of Mainfreight. What
Mhm.
are those?
We are investing the team members and also IT. So we have really great IT system as well. We can book the space for ocean and air, and actually the customers can see live. So
Wow.
this is something different from other competitors.
Mm.
So we can offer for free of charge, so they can take a look and get into the systems. You can upload it, the documents, all that. So it's the paperless. So
Ah,
during the during the
Manufacturing.
that's
COVID time,
different.
yes. So during the COVID, they have to stay home and work, right? But
Yeah.
they don't have to go to the office, but just look at the systems. It's there,
Mm,
everything. So
Yeah, it sounds like you are on the cutting edge of freighting in in the world, right? And
yes,
also looking after your people because
yes. Actually, we think that our people is the asset as well.
yeah.
They work hard, but we have to give them really good environment to work.
Mm.
That's why we have kitchens in the office so they can feel, home to work.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought that was
So,
one of the different things that you offered was that
mhm,
kitchen and nice relaxed space. And I think that really
yes,
adopts from what you've been doing in New Zealand. I think you mentioned that in your presentation recently is that bringing that home into the company to make people feel very relaxed when they're working and can take time out. I thought that was very
right.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes, because we have this culture and the philosophies that we work like family.
Mhm.
So we don't beat up brothers and sisters.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, so we work together, support each other. But
Mhm.
some, in this industry is sometimes tough. Like you have to compete internally, right? Not supporting or anything. But in Mainfreight, we support each other. This
Mhm.
is something different. So we support the team and the team can work well and it just, come back to the customers. They can do the really good performance there.
Yeah.
So that's
Do
how it
you
works.
do you think the competitors or those others who are in the market are noticing you now? That they know about your name and have heard about you and are seeing what you're doing, peeking over the fence, having a little look at what you're up to? Because that could be quite interesting. That's one question. And the other is sometimes do you collaborate with them as well? Because they've got
Mhm,
such a great established network here as well.
mhm.
So
Yes.
can you tell me a bit about that? I'm curious.
Yes, definitely. We have to collaborate with the domestic trucking companies as well. Japan has really good truck delivery network. Yamato and Sagawa, right?
Mm.
They're on time always. So we have to collaborate with them for delivery. I think that's the great idea. It's not like sometimes it's not the good things like you have everything, right? But collaborating with strong suppliers is
Mm.
the one of the efficient way to do the business as
Mm.
well.
Mm.
So this is what we are doing here. We use, other companies' truck But it's okay as long as we collaborate, we know what we do, right? We just deliver for customers. We have to choose the efficient way for the customers.
Sure.
This is what we
Yeah.
do.
And what about on that customer side, though? Some of the customers who ask you for things, can you do this? Can you do that? How can we be, like if it's a New Zealand company asking you, please, Mainfreight, help me get these items to Japan. What can they do to help you make your job easier or smoother? Is there some tips that you might give to customers who want to work with you, how they can do it
Okay.
better? Yeah.
Well, communicating is really important because import and export, we have to follow the rules, right? Regulations. But if you don't give me exact information, it's going to go wrong. So we have to have really good relationship. Like we don't annoy them, but they can give us really good information about the products, how we can move smoothly. That's the most important things. Like, it's just very tough sometimes if the customers don't give us the information of the products. We don't know the process of the customs clearance, right? The regulations we have to follow.
Right. They know their product very well.
Exactly.
You don't know what's in their product or how it's been processed or what it might contain, but you've got to ask them quite a few questions about that without being annoying. So they can come forward with most of the information that you need, then it's going to make working with you a little easier. Anything else that is useful for you from your customer that you
Well,
like? Yeah.
actually, we're promoting our systems to use, so that will be much easier for us to book and receive the booking and emails. Is sometimes like if you're making booking, right, a lot of emails, right? But through the systems, it's so much easier for us, so we are promoting it. So but in Japan is sometimes really hesitate to use new system, right? I think it's the Japan is a little bit behind from the system side, right? So
Right.
compared to other countries, they don't like to use the system, not so much. But I think world is changing. We have to use the system, I guess. So that paperless is the one of the things.
Your customers are pretty good with the paperless system because so many people in Japan, if I can say generally, prefer the paper, or maybe it's just preferred because that's all that's ever been available so much. But paperless is working well for you. Yeah.
Yes. I think so, yes, because they send us in through the email, still paperless, right? But you actually have to keep the papers for like 5 or 7 years for
Yeah.
customs purposes, right?
Yeah.
Actually, paper printed out. But using our system is like we can just store them for long times. So if you need some paper, you want it to look back, and you can just get it from the systems. You don't have to print out everything, right?
And it's
Yes.
paperless in New Zealand as well. It's not just in Japan that you're doing this, is right? It's the whole Mainfreight
Right.
system. That's fantastic.
Yes.
But
So
is there,
we are
I mean,
promoting that.
yeah, so you're doing things really well from the New Zealand side, bringing it into Japan. How about the other way round? Is there anything that Japan that you have seen here in logistics that you've been able to help Mainfreight with to try and even innovate for them? Has there been anything like that happening for you?
Well, the Japan is very delicate, right? It's like all the products are very, very packed well.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes like put your cargoes into containers. We kind of plan everything
To fit
not to have
nicely.
to fit nicely, but sometimes like overseas like piles up randomly, right? It just makes makes like so messy sometimes, right? But in Japan will never happen.
So is
So
that
I
something that you're helping back to New Zealand? Don't do the packaging like this. It should be all
exactly.
formatted
Put it
perfectly
in
on a
nicely.
pallet.
Well, but we do well actually, but sometimes we give them the instruction like how you load into containers and all that. This is how you pack it. those
I
kind
can
of things.
imagine if that container from New Zealand gets opened in Japan by the Japan customers and it's all like messy in there. They would just be like, well, obviously this product is ruined, or it's
Yeah,
not
we don't
good.
want that to happen.
Yeah,
So
so if
you
you
want
can
them to
help the New
open and see
Zealand
the
team
beautifully packed
get it nicely done.
container. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Like outer package is supposed to be damaged because, you protect the actual product inside, right?
Sure.
But outer package in Japan is like still the
Can
product. You don't want to get it damaged.
That's absolutely
Oh
it,
my
isn't it?
God,
That the outer
yes.
package is still part of the product, so you don't want it
Yes.
dented or ripped or anything.
Exactly.
Even though the
Exactly.
inside's perfect.
The actual
Yes.
Yeah.
product, yes. Yeah. Oh my
Exactly. So this
gosh.
is, Japanese standard of quality. So
Mm.
it's a little
Mm.
bit different from other countries, I think.
Have you had any like moments like that where that's happened and some products come in and you've had to explain to the customer that this is how it is, but it's still okay? Or have you had to send them back or have some other communication with the New
Well,
Zealand side?
we have some issues like, like shampoos and cosmetics. The cap was opened
Yeah.
and all the shampoos are coming out
Oh
into
God.
the,
Wonderful.
box, right? But
Not
this
so
is something
wonderful.
that we cannot control.
No.
Like
No.
shipper
That's not
side
your
has to
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
close it well.
Correctly. Yeah,
So
exactly. So
yes, this
that
can be
product would have to be
happening.
returned. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes, those kind of little things, like it will never happen in Japan, right? Like when we ship
Mm.
out to other countries, all perfect. But coming into other countries, like, something broken in a product inside, and,
Mm.
but outer package is still okay.
So what is your one gem of advice for doing business in Japan?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very difficult, actually. But I noticed that the New Zealand people are very friendly. They're very friendly, and I was very surprised. I honestly didn't know, the New Zealand people were very nice and open-minded, and humble. Is it a humble
Mm.
the word?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Humble. So it's very similar to Japanese. I actually thought that.
Mhm.
But Japanese people are very shy, right? So the one tip working in Japan is like, do not hesitate talking to Japanese people, even though they are very shy, because
Right.
they obviously wanted to talk to you, but they're shy. But if you start talking to them, they'll probably open their mind, right?
Mm.
I think it's really important. Like I keep talking to the customers, but the first meeting, they don't talk much. But the second meeting, I keep talking, but they get very, connected, right?
Warmed up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes, warmed up.
What
So,
kind of topics are good to talk about, and what kind of topics maybe we should avoid when speaking with Japanese people here? We're trying to warm them up, but there are maybe some topics that are no go. But what would you recommend we talk about?
I talk about myself, actually.
Ah,
Oh.
good.
I
Okay.
talk about myself. Like I want them to know, who I am first, right?
Mm.
So they can be open minded, talk about themselves later on.
Ah,
So
that's a
I
good
started
point.
first.
Yeah.
I
You
started
start.
first.
And you
Yes.
give the information, and then they're welcome to also give their information.
Yes.
But
Yes. This
asking
is
them,
what I
oh,
do.
what's this? Or, asking them straight
Yeah.
out, they're not going to
Yes.
want to answer that,
Yeah.
right?
This is what
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. To open the door first.
Right. And
Yes.
so, as you say, they may not just start talking about, well, for me, I was da da da. They'll tell you maybe later on at a different event or different timing or meeting. Interesting.
Right. Yeah. This
Right.
is what
So,
I
when
do.
they
Yeah.
don't reciprocate and start telling you about themselves, don't worry about that. Maybe that's one piece of advice. So, I tell you about me,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't tell me about you.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be worried that later on,
No.
maybe Motoko is going to tell me about her
Yes.
a bit later. So not to be
Yeah.
worried that someone doesn't open up right then and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
personally, I don't
Good.
really worry about it if they don't talk about it.
Right, right. Some people
Mm.
Because
might, but that's good advice is that, don't
yeah,
worry, it will come as long as you open the door.
yes,
Mm.
definitely. Yes.
Mm.
Mm.
Like when you go to countryside and visit customers, they're pretty much shy, not like the people from city is more
Mm.
like, open-minded. But in the
Mm.
Mm.
countryside, they probably surprised, like looking at me like who this lady is.
Mm.
But they're very quiet. But later on, actually, it was like 20 years ago, I knocked the door for the customers, right? They're very quiet. But now they're very, very good customers. Wherever I move to the other companies, they always ask to move the cargo. So it's the trust and relationship.
Oh, so
With
wherever
you.
you
Yes.
go, they follow you.
Yes.
Woohoo! That's nice. Have any of your colleagues from New Zealand come to Japan yet, or are they planning to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they came. Actually, our CEO, the global yeah,
Nice.
manager, came here. Yeah,
Great. And
as
what
well.
kind of impressions did is he a he? He?
Yes.
What impression did he have of Japan?
Well, he liked it very much. Everything is very clean.
Oh.
And the train is on time.
Mm. Mm.
So the office is nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Good job. Yeah, that's
Yes.
good. Great.
Great blue on the wall. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, when they visit Japan, I have to ask the customers to speak English. So that's the most difficult part for me,
Right.
to ask the customers to do that. I mean, they can
Right.
speak English, they're just shy. That's it, I guess.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
Yes.
So, I
lovely.
mean, New Zealand Mainfreight's opened up here. That's incredible,
Hmm.
milestone. Do you think there are other opportunities for other
Hmm.
New Zealand companies to do what you've done, to come into Japan like you
Mm.
have? Do you think there's like something, other ways that Kiwis can leverage, even with what you've done? Do you think there's other
Mm.
opportunities for the future for Kiwi New Zealand companies coming in?
New Zealand is pretty much small country, right? But I think they can do much more in Japan because we like natural things, nature things, organic things, right? I don't see many, but they should come to Japan. I mean, they cannot really ignore Japan, right? Because the Japan market is pretty much big here.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I wish Mainfreight came to Japan earlier.
Right.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier would have been better, but now that you're here, you make up for the time and do your
Hmm.
best and continue and
Yes,
get
I
bigger.
think so. Mm. Yep.
Amazing. Anything you want to ask Jandals in Japan?
Anything you want to ask us? Yeah.
Well,
Or
well,
how do I
anything to
manage
ask?
my Kiwi people, bro?
Yeah, how do you find the people to invite
Ooh,
to the
wow.
podcast?
There's several ways. So one way is I know a lot of New Zealanders, and so does Jane from living here for 20,
Mm.
now 21 years for me. So we have a good network of people, but also
Mm.
within the network, they have their network. And so they
Oh.
also know people and make suggestions.
Mm.
And then sometimes we have great collaborators like, Ian Kennedy, Japan New Zealand Business Council, of course, Kylie Archer at
Mhm.
NZTE. She's one of our
Mhm.
greatest supporters, recommending, and inviting people to connect with
Mm.
us. So we have a
Mhm.
great network in that way of people who come to us. And once you
Mm.
ask,
Mm.
usually people say yes. That might be their first time on a podcast, or it might be their first time to speak in this way about their products or about their
Mhm.
background. But most people really enjoy the opportunity to do it.
And
Yes.
recently, guests have also been recommending other people to us. Someone who's been a guest
Mm.
on the show has also recommended somebody else they've thought would be a good fit. And even
Mm.
listeners will write in and say, I know so and so, you need to interview this person. And so then we'll find out who this person is. And we've had some
Mm.
great introductions that way as well. So if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I know someone who would be great for Jandals, then please get in touch with us, jandalsinjapan@gmail.com, and
Mm.
let us know. Yeah. Have you got anyone up your sleeve you could introduce us to, Motoko?
Oh,
Will you have to email us
Yeah.
later and let us know if
email
someone
and
Yes,
tell
comes
us
to
I'll do
mind?
later.
that.
Or in the
Is there
future, if
anything
you
else
meet
that you
someone.
wanted
Yeah.
to say to say today too that we didn't ask you about, that you wanted to tell us about Mainfreight, or anything about what you're doing?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, we have new service. We're planning for next year, January. We will have a reefer container from New Zealand to Japan.
What's that?
Yeah.
Reefer
What's that?
container. Okay,
Yeah.
reefer container is temp control. Like it's like
Oh.
yeah,
Ah, temperature
refrigerated.
controlled,
Yes.
refrigerated container. Okay.
Yes. So I
Mm.
know that there are lots of food in New Zealand and coming into Japan, right? But some of the consignee customers here, they wanted to use the refrigerated
Mm.
container, but there is no service for that. So I thought that it might be a good idea to have a refrigerated container from New Zealand to Japan. So we're kind of a trial, like how
Wow.
many customers we can get from that. So we're gonna do the trial shipment January.
So in that case, do you have the idea of the refrigerated container and find the
Mm-hmm.
customer, or does the customer ask you and then you sort of decide to bring which is a
Yeah,
chicken or egg, I
it's a
guess, in a way?
chicken and egg.
Egg.
Yes.
Yeah.
We kind of hear, there is a demand.
Mm.
Mm.
So we just try one container to see how it goes
Great.
and how many, shipment will be loaded into container. So
Brilliant.
we'll see. So we
Hmm.
have like a one pager
Mm-hmm.
Right.
to send out.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
So we will have a shipment on this day. And then if you have a shipment, just please contact us, so we can move your cargo.
Oh,
This is what
great.
we are
Yes.
doing. It's a campaign
Exciting.
thing. Yes.
Wow.
Excellent.
So
We can
yeah,
think
if
of
you would,
some companies that might use that, I'm sure. But wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really great to know. And I'm sure people need the volume to bring it through. But you could
Yes.
get several companies that utilize that and know
Mm-hmm.
the space together in a way as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Consolidating. Yes.
mm,
Yeah.
Great. Well, we're just
yes.
so proud of you here
Thank
doing
you.
doing the mahi, doing the work. And we really want to congratulate you on being what is now, you're a Jandal in Japan, a very successful Jandal in Japan, and for telling
Thank
us
you.
your whole story. We're super excited to have Mainfreight, and thank you so
Yes.
much, Motoko.
Thank you very much.
Wow, Mainfreight, what a surprise. Doing amazing things in Japan.
Makes you so
The world.
proud. Wow. So good. Yeah, I loved it. And I thought what's singing for me is quality, right? That's where you can really rock it when you're a smaller country, a smaller perhaps company within Japan, big in New Zealand. That's really great, right? Keep the quality.
Yeah, and work with local partners to get, leverage what they already have and do what you do very well, which is getting the stuff between the countries, particularly like
Perfectly.
trains and stuff. Oh my God, I can't believe they sent a train
From Hokkaido to
to
Australia.
Australia. Yeah.
I don't think anyone knows that. We need to share that story a bit more, Motoko. Get
Yeah,
it out
that's
there.
fantastic.
Wow. Loved it. And also, I really liked how she said that, communicating with your forwarder, communicating with your logistics people is really important. You're the customer, you've got all the product information. You might get asked quite a few questions about your product so that they can transport them safely, securely, have the customs declarations done, all the paperwork. In their case, online paperless paperwork.
Amazing.
We still
No
call it
faxing,
paperwork if it's paperless.
right? Yeah.
What did you call it? Systems or admin?
Booking
Yeah,
system.
booking
Yeah.
system. Having that all done, you've got to really make sure that you've got all your ducks lined up so that you can give the information to your forwarder so that things go really smoothly. I thought that was really great advice.
So I guess getting the first time might be a little bit tricky getting all the information sorted, but after that, surely if you're not changing your product in any way, then should be smooth sailing after that, literally.
Yeah. And with their systems, it sounds like
Yeah.
everything can be contained there, and it might be just a yes, that's correct, or that needs updating, and it's very, very simple and straightforward. Honestly, that's just, you can't underline that even more than we can with the thing that it's paperless. I mean, that's amazing because everything here is so much full of paper
So paper-based,
to have
yes.
those systems working with Mainfreight is really cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And I also quite like that, talk to people, because sometimes we refrain from doing that. We think maybe we're just being too mewaku, annoying to people, to ask them lots of questions or talk with them and try and engage. But it sounds like that's been a key tip for Motoko, that she's given of herself first and let the customer open up a bit later on and get to know them better.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they follow her around wherever she goes.
My God, right?
I love that.
Those customers. But that's a really good tip for anywhere in Japan, I think. When you're making friends, when you're getting into business, whatever, is don't expect Japanese people to tell you anything unless you tell them something first, right? You're probably not going to hear. And you might not, and it won't be on your schedule, it will be on their schedule when they decide to tell you. So yeah, it can be really hard at first, I think, if you're not used to that, to just sort of sit back and if you ask questions to people, they can feel that's very intrusive. So rather hold off on the too many questions, but yeah, you can tell
Give
them
of yourself first,
and they will might follow up with questions and then feel like they can tell you about themselves. So
yeah, it's been a secret for success for me as well. That's a really good point. And giving of yourself, telling about what you've done, where you are at, what you can help with, and then let it be. And let them know that anytime you're ready, I'd love to hear from you, but it doesn't have to be today. But that's a little bit about me.
People in Japan don't learn conversation skills here like we do in our daily lives in New Zealand. When you're at the supermarket or whatever, there's no expectation to make small talk here. It's very set what the small talk will be, the set.
Maybe weather only. Weather?
And no, there's not really anywhere where you would see or learn that. So yeah, expecting Japanese people to strike up a conversation with you, unless you have a dog or a baby with you, is very difficult, right? So yeah.
Good point. Wow. Okay. There you go. You heard it here. Loved it. We've got more coming, right, Jane? Gosh.
Oh my gosh, so many
I love
in the
Motoko's
pipeline.
question, but yes, we have more people coming on the show.
And this is our last episode for this year, right? This one's coming out.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
Just before Christmas. So yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's the last one for 2023. Right. But don't worry, we've already got the one for
we've already
after
got
Christmas.
2024 January
recorded, so.
coming out. In the second week of January coming out. So don't worry, we're not leaving you astray for too long. So yeah, it's been a great year. What a fantastic lot of guests we've had. Can't wait to keep going and bring some more Jandals to you.
Excellent. We'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our guests' links in the show notes.
This podcast is brought to you today by Catherine O'Connell Law and Pod Launch with Jane. If you have a great story you think should be on the show, come and find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Mata ne!